Call to order the regular meeting of the Eastpointe City Council. It's Tuesday, June 7th at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation given by our Public Safety Chaplain, James Friedman, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, we come before your presence to say thank you for the city. Thank you for all public servants who have heard the call and accepted the call. We ask that your grace and mercy be upon our council and our city manager, our mayor, all those that are here today to be a partaker of this meeting and all the business that will be discussed today. We ask that your grace and mercy continue to be upon Eastpointe. Let us continue to be a beacon of light for Macomb and the Tri-County area. Bless the city in every way possible. Bless our churches and all of our businesses, our schools. Bless our citizens in every way that's possible. We thank you for all the business that will be discussed here today. We thank you for this council and city manager and the mayor understanding the importance of recognizing our law enforcement professionals. And we ask that you bless them tremendously for that. We also ask that you bless this council for recognizing and acknowledging you at every meeting. This day and time when people are pulling away from you, this council recognizes the importance of keeping you in the forefront. And for that reason, I ask that you continue to bless them. This we say thank you for in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Council, if you would join me for the proclamation.
The director has something to say.
Tonight we're also honored by several of our police officers. I'm not quite sure who they are. And our Director of Public Safety, John McNeilitz. So as many of you know, once a year is National Police Week, in which we take the time to honor our police officials. So this is a proclamation that comes from our City Council to honor National Police Week. And I'll try to read it. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States of America have designated the 15th of May as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the City of Eastpointe play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the City of Eastpointe. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, and by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the law enforcement agency of the City of Eastpointe unceasingly provide a vital public service. And now, therefore, the Mayor and City Council for the City of Eastpointe do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21st as National Police Week. And we call upon all citizens of the City of Eastpointe to observe May 15th, 2016 as Officers Memorial Day, in honor of those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or who have become disabled in the performance of their duty. And this is signed by myself and all of our City Council. So are you going to speak, or is... Thank you.
Mayor Pixley and council members, thank you for setting aside this time to pause and recognize the sacrifice and dedication of our law enforcement officers tonight with this proclamation. I just have a few comments, but before I go on, I'd like to acknowledge the officers in attendance tonight. We have our chaplain, James Friedman, who served as the chaplain here in Eastpointe for quite some time now. We have Joe Pirro, patrol officer, Robert McNeil, Joshua Jones, Brandon Burkall, and Sergeant Kelly Schock. Thank you all for being here, taking the time out of your shift tonight and being here, and thank you for your service. 3 weeks ago, thousands of officers and supporters of law enforcement, along with survivors of officers killed in the line of duty, gathered in Washington, D.C. as part of National Police Week to pay tribute to the 124 officers who died in the line of duty during 2015. This also included 3 officers from the state of Michigan. We must never forget the ultimate sacrifice that these officers made in the performance of their duty to protect the public and preserve the peace. We also recognize the tremendous grief and sacrifice of the surviving spouses, children, and family members that those officers left behind. On the Law Enforcement Memorial Wall in Washington, there are over 20,000 names of officers inscribed who have died in the line of duty in the United States since 1791. This memorial wall is a solemn reminder of the danger that police officers face every day. It is also fitting that we acknowledge with gratitude and respect those officers who continue to serve. We are very fortunate in Eastpointe to have dedicated and courageous police officers who are the first to respond to every call for help and are often confronted with very volatile and dangerous situations. These officers are serving the citizens of Eastpointe every day with distinction and professionalism, and we thank them for their service. Every officer who wears the badge knows the burdens and the stress that comes with the knowledge that any moment of any day during your tour of duty, you could be confronted with a matter of life and death. Because of the dangers they face and the critical importance of our officers to the safety of the city, it is vitally important that we support our officers in every possible way, providing them the resources and training to do their jobs safely, giving them the appreciation and respect that they deserve, and praying for their safety every day. Mayor and Council, again, thank you for your support, and thank you to the citizens of Eastpointe for their support of the men and women of the Eastpointe Police Department. Thank you.
First of all, as I said before, I want to thank City Manager, the Mayor, the Council, Councilman John, for allowing this. He was part of the meeting when we put this together. We want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for your continued support for the fine men and women who serve here at Eastpointe Police Department. I want to thank my partners and Sergeant and the Chief for allowing us to do this today as we recognize our police force and the sacrifices that they make. Outside of the military, I don't know any other job that requires the investment of body, soul, and spirit to do this job, but I've seen these men and women skip lunch or eat lunch in the car because they care. And they're there each and every day, working diligently and working hard, putting themselves in harm's way, protecting those who cannot protect themselves, serving the city, serving the citizens of the city, and they do it unconditionally. And I think it's appropriate for us to give them another hand as they continue to do the job that they do here. Again, thank you.
Council, rather than, I would like to go and shake your hands and all of us. Thank you very much. In the past, we've acknowledged our police department with open houses at the police department itself. I think that's a great opportunity for local residents to also come out, and we will try to do that next year. So please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Here.
Councilperson Lucido.
Here.
Councilperson Kleinfeld.
Here.
Councilperson Marion. Here. Mayor Pixley.
Here. And with that, we'll move to the first hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Mr. Creech?
Madam Mayor, Council, Harvey Creek, resident of East Detroit. I've come here on a matter, to me, of grave concern. I'd like to start this out with in an address to Mr. Carty. When Carty was down there at the Recreation Center on open house, I give him a 5-cent tour of many mistakes that were made in the Recreation Center. They had the opportunity and a punch list to fix them. They didn't get fixed. I was at the last meeting, and they made the last payment. I talked to them. We're supposed to have a 2-year warranty. At the present time, right now, I was down there today, and me and Tony was standing there looking. When you open the gym door, you can see light through both gyms at the bottom of the doors. They told me the back door was fixed with weather stripping. We opened the back door, the weather stripping stuck to the door and peeled off and went to the outside. The workmanship and the materials and the stuff they're using today is past the stage of recourse. We're paying for nothing. Everything that we've done so far, I'm going to come down, as I said, Carty, you were there. You seen. They didn't fix any of that stuff. And they have no intention of fixing it. We're supposed to have a 2-year warranty. I told them, don't pay for it. Keep their money. They paid for it anyways. As we go through here, as I said, then they just got, I just typically told us that here, we just got done putting a back stoop, a back porch, whichever one you want to call it, an emergency exit of a porch on the back of the place. I went down there. It's got 11 cracks all the way down the sill already. They didn't even backfill where they put the form. A person can stand there and can fall over it. Who's going to get the credit? We're going to get sued. East Detroit and Roseville both. I've watched this building right here we took a bath on. Right now you can go down to our library, capital improvement. I don't know if you got a chance to look at that. They got a beautiful facade. When you walk in and you see this, there's no ceiling. They knocked the ceiling out of the building when they were fixing it. Is it fixed? No. The DPW building, the tile, the rest of the place, no. Every building I've got here, the last 5 jobs, no.
You have 30 seconds, sir.
Okay, I'm just going to say, we're getting nothing for our money. As residents and the rest of the stuff, this is getting to be, we need an outside department or somebody who's got nothing to do with this to come back in and help this city out, because we're paying for what we're not getting. I'm calling this, Detroit, I'm calling it embezzlement, fraud, misappropriation of funds. I don't care what you want to call
Your
it.
time is up, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Does anyone else wish to be heard at this time? Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the first hearing of the public is closed. Move on to approval of the minutes. We have 2 minutes in the second agenda, if you did get that. The first one is for the regular meeting of May 17th, 2016. We have a motion, please.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 17th, 2016.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any corrections? Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes. And the second one would be the budget meeting of May 24th, 2016.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of May 24th, 2016.
Support.
Moved and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes. And item 4 tonight is a scheduled hearing related to the fiscal year 2016-17 budget. Does anyone in the audience wish to have comments on the budget? Anyone have any comments on the budget? Any comments on the budget? Seeing none, the hearing related to the 2016-17 budget is closed. Move on to unfinished business, and the first item is to review and discuss the fiscal management plan. Mr. Duchesne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As council recalls, we set this for final discussion on the amendments to the fiscal management policies, and let me set the stage a little bit for this. First adopted in early 2012, the fiscal management policies are really the operating guidelines and requirements for administration and council to commonly share with the in other words, the business plan of the city, particularly pertaining to fiscal planning and budgeting through risk management, capital improvements, and a variety of other functions of a municipal government in between. Over time, due to circumstances, some changes were made, and those changes were adopted. We highlighted in this year's proposed budget the areas that we are again going to propose amendments to, and in that discussion and budget, the policies were there with highlighted changes to it. What I would summarize and say before you tonight is the final clean version of the policies as they have been revised, and what they fundamentally do, in short, is return us back to a status that we very closely resembles 2012. Many of the changes the council made in the financial policies were due to the unfortunate fiscal circumstances prior to the SMORSA authority being enacted, and some other things that we had to take steps to, I would say, not be able to project into the future as conservatively as we wanted to regarding funding, set-asides, reserve funds that we are now able to return to. So fundamentally, the financial management policies that serve the city well in getting through the worst of the recessionary induced and state revenue sharing induced crisis. Many of those have been ameliorated by actions of the council in the past couple of years now, and we are able to return policies to place that into place that forecast and make sure that the government is sustainable, it's affordable, and it works within the boundaries of the best practices of financial and operational management. So with that, I summarize that for you, and certainly stand ready to discuss further prior to your action. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Does anyone have any specific points they would like to discuss?
Well, so for the first thing, I guess we essentially get to remove the whole appendix section, is what you are essentially saying then, about all the items that we went over, well, that council went over back in 2012, like you said. Can we just make sure, I know we've said it before, let's just make sure we keep a copy of the old one, just so we know what we did before. I know, we have them saved, just keep them saved for future. Hopefully we never have to return to them. But then did just have a couple minor questions for policy 1.02. We talk about preparing the 5-year long range. We of course do the long range for the general fund. It's very helpful. I think it's great that we do that. It says for the city's major operating funds. Is that essentially just the general fund, or should we be doing that for any other funds?
Ideally, I think we're positioned now, we'll look at things, the other major operating funds would be categorized as Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, major and local streets. I would suggest that the focus could be now on water and sewer funds to some extent, because it would be primarily the nature of our capital improvement program, which is multi-year. I think also unfortunately, somewhat the turbulent times of water rates, such as the creation by edict of the Great Lakes Water Authority and the forcible actions onto the city there, have destabilized our rate planning in the short term, but I think now we're able to project ahead. Honestly, in major and local funds, I would not recommend you waste your time doing much strategic planning on it, because with this ridiculous mess of funding we have for roads and I guess the lack of funding in Michigan, I think Mr. Blum and I could sit down and give you a plan, and it's going to be very limited, and exercising it with fund balance and projected in that would be very much year to year. So I think fundamentally the general fund is the focus. It is clearly the key to fund public safety and everything. The water and sewer fund, I think that's a reality. But the other funds, I think that in a state with the ridiculous leadership of this legislature and road funding and the attempts of that, I really don't see a purpose in local government officials going beyond 1 year at a time.
For section 2.05, we have, from the old version, I was going over the one I had all my comments on here, we had that section 2.05 shall not apply to proposed or adopted budgets beginning with fiscal year 15-16. I was trying to figure out why we had that note in there, and then we still kept it in here. I was trying to figure out what that meant from before.
The carry forward on that, that's probably area that should be reviewed in the future. Right now, we put it in because there was it was still in 15-16. As I recall, we were looking at the prior objective was not putting ourselves in a box as far as budget stabilization reserve if we could not afford it. I think we can go forward with that now.
With SMORSA now, we'll,
Yeah.
Because we didn't have SMORSA at the
Yeah.
time.
okay.
You
Well, I
know,
figured
look,
15-16, well.
We're just-
Oh, this is from okay, it says December 16th.
Yeah, so-
2014, so that makes sense.
we're ending 16 on June 30th. It'll be a good look ahead where we go, but really, it's still in our early years on that, but that was the reason, the timing of that.
Anything else?
Have any questions?
You didn't have anything else?
I know a lot of these are pretty minor. I'm trying to figure out, I know we, in section 4.03, the very last sentence there, we had an income tax thing, and I know we've never, I don't think we'll ever consider that, so it seemed we could probably strike that. It says local income tax programs will be evaluated.
That was a final plan D or E, depending on
Right.
SMORSA, so.
So I figured that could go away with the whole appendix then, since, of course, that, there's no reason to consider that. And then actually, if you back up one page, 3.06, I think we changed, let me see here, in the newer version, both of those numbers should be 5,000. The one was changed to 5,000, but not the other. In 3.06.
Yes, yeah. That was not changed, that was proposed, introduced, and then was not given
took
formal
action.
adoption on that. So that would go back to 5 on that currently.
Council, your feeling on 4.03 related to the local income tax programs, did you have any problem if we deleted?
I don't have any problem if you delete it. I think in reading in full context, 403 has been around since, I guess.
Since the beginning, since we did this.
Since the beginning of everything, maybe the beginning of time. It was one of the revenue options if the city ever needed to look forward to it, but certainly as a policy matter right now, you could strike it and we can just take it out.
It was kind of almost ridiculous when it first came up, I think in 2008, 2009, because if you were to do local income tax, almost the unemployment rate within the city was like 20%, so. And that was the last thing that we would ever think of doing to our residents.
Yeah, I'm fine with striking that.
Yeah, taking it out.
Okay.
And then I did have a question related to 7.02, item A, which was the statement of objectives of the capital improvement plan in relationship with the city's master land use plan. And I think that should be happening, and I would highly encourage that somehow we get our master plan movement, and because we need to do that when we're considering our capital improvement program.
And ideally, the interaction of the master land use plan and the capital improvement plan are precisely designed to do so. So I think as a statement of policy, the council is stating here that it needs to be coordinated and all facility plans to be incorporated in that. As we have the opportunity to update the master plan, as the commission will be starting that process this year, I think this is an ideal time to interact this. And we have a 6-year capital program that we can insert appropriately and coordinate with that, so,
I think it's key
good time
that
to do
these
it.
two match.
yes.
And then for that same 7.02, for E, I think we do have this even in the budget, correct? I think I see
Yes.
for this year, We even just, in case we go forward, I think we even added the public safety complex, I think was listed in here.
The proposed debt requirements are, as you stated, they're in the budget. We also have in the annual financial report, full summary of that, and they are available online through the Munetrics function. And in the handout that we placed on a summary of this year's budget, we have the statement from the Independent Municipal Finance Authority that does that. So you are certainly meeting, exceedingly meeting 702E in that requirement. And again, I stress, this is a self-imposed document and policy of the way we manage and develop policy in the city. It's rare to find these in cities. In fact, none of our neighbors would have such a device here to compare and contrast to.
I think it's been a good tool, a really good tool for the council as we moved along through some really torturous times.
And hopefully in good times too someday.
Good times now. Any other questions related to it?
No.
All right, do we need to take a formal,
With those
that would
correct,
be in the next meeting? To
well,
formally adopt?
we could adopt it tonight if council wanted to, or and just,
I could give a motion a shot right now, and if it has
Okay.
all. I'll motion to amend the Eastpointe Management and Fiscal Strategic Plan as presented by the city manager with the two changes. The last sentence in 4.03 be omitted, and in section 3.06, that the last sentence read purchases for the categories that exceed $5,000 shall still require formal competitive bidding.
Support?
Move and support. Any additional changes? All right, please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes.
Councilperson Marion,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to reports from administration. We'll start with our city manager, Mr. Duchesne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things that we're interactive on. One is the Michigan Constitutional Government Group continues to pick up supporters from our fellow municipalities. Grosse Pointe Woods voted this week to support the efforts, and the litigation team has met with a couple of prospective expert witnesses, including a gentleman who worked with Dick Headley himself, and we resurrected some list of common people we know, and we're very positive about that. We've also had some help from some people who, without naming names, used to be on the Supreme Court, and through our contacts, we've had a chance for them to review it, and they've given us some suggestions on improving our argument and what to emphasize and not to emphasize. And I'm pleased to say that we have not found anybody take exception to our basic premise and position on the argument. So a lot of it is nuanced things and touching it up and not shocking people asking for $6 billion. I kind of like that first line, but some people say maybe a court won't be too comfortable with that to start out with, so we'll give it to them later on. But it has been working well, and I appreciate everybody's support and talking it up and supporting it further. And we it's a strange group when you have public safety and public sector unions joining, and the Taxpayers United group and us all kind of being on the same page. But I think what underscores it, and just briefly, is that, again, the Constitution is the Constitution. And all these groups may have, and we may fight maybe like cats and dogs on individual issues and things, but the legislature cannot run roughshod over the people's Constitution. And whether you want it changed or not, that's good for an argument for someday. But it's not for them to interpret the Constitution the way they see fit in the face of evidence. So I'm very pleased with that. We are pleased that the Memorial Day Parade went well. The administration in our post-incident critique found all positives, and we appreciate the feedback received and suggestions about anything we can do to improve in the future. With that, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Duchesne?
I got one. Are we still on schedule for the 21st to have the RTA present at this meeting?
Yes.
Are we going to consider additional seating?
Is that a suggestion, Councilman Marion?
It's a good possibility.
Okay. Well, we will be so prepared. I think we will be one of the, I think, at least last scheduled public information sessions I see on their schedule right now, so we should be
That's why
prepared.
I think there might be a lot of,
Okay.
I want to hear, and they're going to show up, so we might be possibly overwhelmed, so. I got another concern. There's some expenses that I keep seeing come up, and that's with our sled hill. And we just put in some shrubbery. You know, aesthetically, it looks good. The grass is growing like crazy. There's a lot of people you see using it for running up and down it and hiking up and down it, and see some daredevils on some bikes up there every once in a while. I'm concerned, I know I ventured up there last winter and stood up there and took in some of the sights, and I'd say some of the concerns I had of some of the people going down the wrong side of the hill. And I'm just wondering, from our liability point and the study that we've done with the risk management, are we considering something else to put up a semi-permanent barricade? Because I know they did plastic snow fence, but that was like a constant battle on trying to do that. And if we're going to do something like that, now's when we need to do it, not, you know, when it's snowing.
Well, the risk manager can summarize, but we have had
There
some
he
grants
is.
and support with that, so.
Yeah, this first round of plantings went in. We actually have the grant request into the MMRMA. It'll be heard on August 17th. We expect to get 50% of the cost back. After that, the plan is to get a second round of plants put in probably September timeframe to put additional visual barriers. And at one point, we had talked about actually putting a handrail up where you're supposed to be walking, not where the dirt trail is. I got to get with the DPW director on that and look at doing that. They're just putting some posts in with a rope for people to hold on to go up. That was also recommended by the MMRMA. And the other thing they had recommended, but the pricing's a little steep right now, was to get basically they're breakaway poles like you see in slalom skiing, where they hit them and they pop over, and to put the breakaway poles in along with the snow fencing, so if somebody were to slide into it, it would kind of catch them and slow them down and keep them from falling on people that are walking up the trail. We haven't found a good supplier for that yet at a reasonable cost, so we haven't pursued that one. We're going to go kind of in phases, but the next planned phase would be some more shrubs in the fall timeframe.
I visited out in Castle Rock, Colorado, and they took their sledding hill, and they've used it for, what do they call, the line that goes across?
Zip line.
Zip line from hill to hill. But what they did with their sledding hill, on the side where you currently have the trail, is to make what they call an incline. And they used just regular, what do you call the pieces of wood, landscape timbers, to make a hill, and then every third one was a balance. So they have a total of 250 steps that people use to practice going up and down hills.
Yeah.
But they used exactly what you're talking about, with a side screen of some type that relaxes, but it does keep somebody from going off the side. But they put their incline in the middle, so they're not actually going off the side, it's just following up a trail. And for some reason, people stay on that incline.
Okay.
Just-
I know somebody lives south of the park where you could put a zip line down to his house. That'd be kind of entertaining. I never thought
Tow
about that.
line going up.
Yeah.
So I don't have to walk.
But it's amazing, when I went out and visited the incline a year ago, There was hardly anybody going on, and when I was out there this last week, you should see all the people that were just zipping up as fast as they could. It was amazing to me how fast they could go up that incline, which is actually at about 6,000 feet altitude besides.
Does risk management think that putting shrubbery around some of the trees would give adequate barricading to them?
Shrubbery, no. No, the hay bales that we had last year is what they prefer. They actually prefer people don't slide down that side of the hill, but for those that refuse to obey, the hay bales is the way to go.
That's gonna probably be a reoccurring cost every year.
Yes.
Anything else for Mr. Duchesne? All right. Let's move on to our finance
Okay.
director.
Madam Mayor and Council, I just wanted to report that the check did come in from the county for the delinquent taxes, came in last week. So the 2015 tax year is done, just in time to roll the delinquent specials onto the July 16 tax bill next meeting. So we are now whole for the year, though, so that's good news. And that's all I have to report.
So are you going to send us a note and tell us how much was in that check?
No,
Okay.
I can do that.
All right. Any questions for the finance director? All right, let's move on to our city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to supplement one item in our monthly status report. It's item A. It's the Colonial Dodge litigation. I did appear in court for a show cause hearing last Thursday, and the defendant did appear and provided me payment in 3 installments, totaling approximately $12,800. The installment payments were dated June 6th, July 6th, and August 6th. They're made out to our firm, and so I did let Mr. Blum know that. I have instructed my office manager to deposit the first check into our client trust account. Once the check clears, we will then issue that payment to the city of Eastpointe and then follow the other checks as well. So it has been paid, but the file won't be closed out until August once we receive final payment. So, and I'm happy to answer any other questions the council may have regarding the report or any other items the council may have.
Anything?
That sounds great.
Finally.
Oh, my God. How many years did it take us to get to this
3.
point? 3 years.
3.5.
All right, let's move on to new business. And the first item is approval of the special event application for Cloverleaf Bar and Restaurant.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the request from Ms. Marie Guerra to conduct a car show and various outdoor activities in Cloverleaf's parking lot on June 18th, 2016, with the following conditions. Number 1, applicant must comply with Chapter 24 of the International Fire Code and equip the membrane structure with 1 2-way portable fire extinguisher. Number 2, any outside vendors must obtain a vendor's license through the clerk's office. And 3, applicant must submit to the city a general liability insurance certificate naming the city of Eastpointe as additional insured on the policy for this event.
Support.
Move in support. Any questions?
I'm curious on the difference between this one and also the Oddfellows on the requirement of trained security people. Why is it required at one and not the other?
I guess,
Liquor outside?
yeah, pretty much that and the experience and the regular business that a licensed restaurant does in the management of liquor and sales of that versus
Parking lot.
well, true, but there are difference in their approach and the casual or volunteer activities of the other place, I would suggest, cause them to be treated a little differently as far as independent security they don't typically deal with.
Okay, I was curious on
Yeah, I mean, nothing,
why there was
nothing
a
too deep.
stipulation difference.
yeah.
Any questions? All right, please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilperson Marion,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
Item B is the approval of the special event application for Oddfellows 18th Annual Festival. Do we have a motion?
That's quite a paragraph on this one, Madam Mayor. I'll motion to approve the request from the Eastwood Oddfellows to conduct its 18th annual festival on June 17th and 18th, 2016, subject to the following conditions. Number one, the organization must obtain a letter of approval for use of the adjacent property, 23350 Gratiot. Number two, the tent must comply with the adopted fire code, section 2401. Number three, the organization must obtain a permit from the building department for the 60-foot by 60-foot tent. Four, the organization must provide a certificate of flammability for the tent. Five, the organization must schedule an inspection with the building department and fire department for the tent. And number six, I believe, according to IFC 2009,2402.20.2, they have to add 2 trained crowd managers.
Support.
Move with support. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Great event. Move on to bid awards. We have 2 of them tonight. One is for the new fire department security camera and door security systems. We have a motion.
Should
Does
we
that read as
introduce
two
this
different
first?
separate motions?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the utilization of governmental pricing and authorize the purchase of a camera security system for the fire department from Able Electronics out of St. Clair Shores, Michigan, in the amount of $16,666 in accordance with its May 9th, 2016 proposal, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this purchase.
Support.
Move with support. Please call the roll.
What if
Councilperson,
anyone had questions? Sorry.
Well, you have any questions?
Well, just quick, it looks like they have the right size drives this time, so that's good. And it looks like this should be just like the rest of the systems in the city, right?
yeah.
Looks like it. That's all I had, Madam Mayor.
Okay, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. And this,
I'll motion to approve the utilization of government pricing and authorize the purchase of the DSX door access control system for the fire department from Interstate Security out of Shelby Township, Michigan, in the amount of $10,430 in accordance with its May 24, 2016 proposal, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this purchase.
Support.
move with support.
And same thing for this. This is the same as, sounded like the same as the rest of the city in terms of locking down the buildings.
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
And then still one more for the fire department is for the roof and the kitchen exhaust upgrades. We have a motion on that.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to award Eastpointe Fire Station roofing bid to Leduc Roofing and Sheet Metal out of Oak Park, Michigan, for $162,899, with a contingency amount of $16,000, with a total project cost of $178,899, and to authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this contract.
We have support.
I'll support it.
And then questions on this? Or do you want to wait until the kitchen exhaust bid?
I have a question. So I guess first, where in the capital improvement program did we have this? I thought we've talked about this before in the past, but I don't.
Was this last year's?
I think this was the last year, I believe. I'd have to double check where it's positioned. We have it right there.
Oh, I need the year before, the first one I see here then for this year. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's 15, 16, I think it was 14, 15 originally. But I would check on that.
So, and then my second question would be, now, can we get by? I mean, so why are we bringing it up now if we didn't 2 years ago? If we're considering a new building, these next two purchases, I guess, just seemed like a lot of money to then soon potentially, I know it's, of course, a large if, we might have these buildings for a long time and be worth it. This will be a lot of money that we could make like a first payment on a new building.
Yeah, that's the, again, that's kind of the rub of the whole maintenance. The roof is, been trying to extend its time as long as practical, but based on the evaluation now, it's time to act on it before you do have more of a major failure and it's gone. Again, the quandary is much like the parking lot we dealt with some months ago. It is money, and it builds the case, if you would, for looking at a full replacement on these buildings collectively. However, in the interim, that would be a process that council would work on in this next year, and then particularly if we have to put together financing plans and go through the whole process, you may not occupy a building for, 4 years, up to 4 years. So it's as much like being a homeowner at some point. You may move in 3 or 4 years, but what do you do in the interim regarding the facility? Plus, if it's going to have any resale value, any other use value, these kinds of things are necessary. It grieves me much to put this kind of money into something that is really just basic maintenance, but I think that where we are right now, the city had some plans some years ago, I do have to say, to rehabilitate the fire station. I think that was just a year or so before my time. And council chose not to take any action on that at that time for financial reasons and constraints. So all of this has been not just, you're just not moving it ahead a couple of years. In essence, this council has to move it ahead the 7th year or the 8th year in these things looking ahead.
Is that a built-up roof, asphalt, or membrane, or?
Do you recall when the previous roof was put on? It's got to be at least 20 or 30 years.
Randy, do you have any
I'm not sure.
history or knowledge? Yeah, it's been around a long time.
Or my time,
And you've been with it, I know,
14 years.
because we considered it probably 10 years ago, and it was really old then.
Yep.
Did partners know, or?
Partners would have, they did the full evaluation and made the recommendation to Mr. Altimus. So, yeah, they have the full data on that sheet in there, along with the buildings, facilities, maintenance program too.
And they think it's absolutely necessary to,
They would be, in their professional opinion, we should be acting on it. Of course, that's, not binding on us, but they recommend. And they understand because they've been given the charge to evaluate alternatives, including replacement building, but, they have to do their due diligence and recommend what they think is best at this time.
I had the same concerns, reading it, do we want to put this money in? But I think, Mr. Duchesne, you made a good point that it would still be a couple years before moving into.
Or at least.
So, if it has to be done before then, might as well do it now before, say next year if the price goes up to do the same thing. So,
and maybe with property values rising, like you said, if we can resell it somehow.
It's got some resale
Something.
potential, I think, if possible, but, yeah, these are not the kind of recommendations you like making by any means. You take a step forward, I guess, in one sense, but you really don't see improvement in service or productivity. But a roof falling in or excessive leaks, that building has got other challenges as it is, and I certainly don't want to see us exacerbate those problems and extend those on, make them worse than they are.
Are the roof project and the exhaust, is the exhaust like on top of the kitchen? Would that be done in conjunction? So that way these are,
Yeah, that's why they're tied together, because we did the kitchen remodeling or updates, and then this would be exhaust and system. We're not talking about just a small pipe exhaust, it's a,
well, I hope not for like 60-something.
Right, I was going to say, if we can touch on that, since it sounds like they
Yeah.
are somewhat interrelated, well, first of all, I guess why, it does seem very expensive for exhaust, and second, how come this wasn't part of the kitchen remodel in the first place?
I can't answer that second part. I think the identification of it by the building architects, some way was related to the remodeling and then the further evaluation, the deterioration, the roof played into it. I do not have an architect representative here tonight, exactly what their full thinking was on that, but they have recommended it in conjunction with the roof replacement because it needs to be done at that time. But it certainly is a large amount for what, well.
I don't think you could do
Can
the,
we,
you couldn't do the roof without replacing the exhaust.
Now, you have to take that part off, but
It's a projection through the roof, and every
Right.
time you have a projection through the roof, that's a potential leak.
Right.
So when you're doing the roof, you have to do them all simultaneously, otherwise you're gonna end up with a,
I got a question. Why didn't we get more than one bid on that?
I don't know.
looks like the other three didn't want to bid on that then, and then,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
yeah,
it's
we're
a
stuck
separate
with
company.
one. Right,
Yeah.
That's doing it, it's not even the same company either.
right.
And there wasn't any other bids.
My preference, since I think another 2 weeks wouldn't hurt, can we table this and we can ask a few of these questions to partners, and then maybe they can come to our next meeting also, in case we have a few more questions after that, and
Yes, I can have Chris Gillespie, I'm sorry, come to the subsequent meeting. If he's not in the RTA crowd, we'll find him there and ask him to comment on that.
we'll spot them.
I would be fine with that too, because my inclination tonight is I would want to approve the roof, but I'm not inclined to approve that much money for the exhaust, because it just doesn't seem, because it's just for the kitchen,
Yeah, I kinda
correct? And
agree.
it just didn't seem like,
My guess is
That
that there's
small of an
probably other
area.
exhaust systems that are combined with this.
okay.
I think that's, I
I
bring them in and let
You
them
know, I just
address
kinda
that,
looked
yeah. It's a lot
from
of
the
money.
back to see how many there are, and I just know how much it cost me when I just did my simple little roof, so.
Well, I mean, I seen the vents in the back, like the regular, like attic vents, but I only seen the one exhaust in the front for the kitchen. I mean, right now that we have, I know, that's all I seen was just the one.
Could be the other process of just building it internally also to go out. So, I don't know, I think it's a good idea to have Chris come and.
You might as well
do a
cover it. I
presentation.
mean, this is an area that a couple of weeks isn't gonna hurt anything right now in this area, and I'm sure these companies won't get geared up to do anything on the roof until we have a meeting, so I think that's wise if you wish to postpone that for a couple of weeks.
Do you want to make a motion to table it?
Well, Councilman Marion, I think you have your motion on right
Would you
now.
like to amend your motion to table this?
all right, I'll amend the motion that we table the Eastpointe Fire Station roof and exhaust fan upgrades.
Still support.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
All right, our next item is the approval of the request from Stephen Summerfield for a 120-day extension of his workers' comp supplement income. Do you have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve Officer Stephen Summersfeld's request for an extension of workman's compensation supplemental income pursuant to Article 9 of the Police Officers' Labor Agreement?
11.
11, sorry.
Support.
I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
Because we really don't have any background on this. But previously, I believe somewhere along the way, we were told that he was on workers' comp. How many days has he been on workers' comp?
He is, been on he's approaching the 48-week mark. On June 20th, I believe, is when his time would expire, and he needs to request the extension. Without divulging any medical information, it was a motorcycle accident that has not healed properly, and he has started the disability process through MERS. It's just going to take time to get there.
Okay,
So this buys him that time to get the disability taken care of.
okay. So please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
Councilperson Marion.
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Item E is the approval of the amended Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Member Agreement.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the amended Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Agreement, which provides for pre-designated assignments by which fire apparatus respond to fire incidents outside of Macomb County, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to the agreement.
Do we have
Support.
support? Now, I had some questions related to this. Chief McNeilance, this is to allow to going out of county, correct?
That's correct.
And this is only in specific special operations teams?
Well, no, the language change is only affecting special operations teams and the reimbursement for instances where they would respond. We could actually be requested, or we could request assistance of things other than special response teams or special operations teams. For example, in a large-scale fire, potentially we could get fire apparatus and other basic fire services into Eastpointe, or we could render aid outside of Eastpointe based on the Mavis agreement. But the specific language that they're asking for the change from the agreement we approved in 2014 is just a couple of sentences that relate to reimbursement for those types of special operation teams when they respond.
All right, so does this allow us or make us go to Harper Woods or Grosse Pointe Woods or any of those Wayne County communities, Detroit?
No, I mean, we could if those counties were also part of Mavis, and most counties soon will be, but it would only be in a large-scale type incident, which I kind of described in the write-up, a large tornado,
Okay.
or a terrorist event, or a large building collapse,
Okay,
where extra resources were needed. So it would be very unusual, but it could happen.
not just for routine fires on a,
No, we wouldn't be responding to Wayne County or
all right,
outside of Macomb County on routine fires.
Not necessarily considered part of the mutual aid.
Not our Macomb County mutual aid. That doesn't change.
okay.
Have we ever had a scenario where we've responded or been here?
Not since I've been here. I'm not aware of any large-scale events where we did actually respond outside of the county, but it's an extra layer of protection and preparedness that it gives us by being part of Mavis.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
Councilperson Marion.
Yes.
And item F is the adoption of the resolution number 1815, which is the library millage proposal.
Madam Mayor, I motion to adopt resolution number 1815, which establishes the November 8th, 2016 ballot language seeking approval to renew the library millage in the amount not to exceed 1 mil.
Support.
Any support? Any discussion?
Operative word is renew.
Renew.
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
Councilperson Marion.
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes. Move on to payroll and bills.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $3,462,746.24.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any questions? I know, Mr. DeMonico, you had all your questions answered.
Yes.
Anyone else have any questions? No. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido.
Yes.
Councilperson Marion.
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
Move on to the second hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Mr. Creed or Mr. Wolf?
Good evening, Pat Wolf, 18114 Rosetta. I just wanted to say I was quite pleased with the work that's been being done with the cement replacement of the sidewalks. My mother was very impressed how they came out and removed the cement in one day and was able to replace it the very next, and everything was so cleanly, tidily, neatly swept up and implemented, and they were very careful about flowers and everything else and shrubbery, and I've been getting comments from my neighbors as how quickly and expediently it's been being done. And also I want to comment on the, it's a great comfort seeing the implementation of the lighting system throughout the city with the LED lighting, how I was in a torrential downpour this last Saturday, and I was coming down 9 Mile, and you couldn't see 2 feet in front of you practically, and those LED lights being the way they were made it a lot better to see. So I am very pleased that the city is moving in the direction that it's going with the, thoughtfulness and looking out for its citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. And Mr. Jakubiec?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Please, next year, get rid of Italia. They're doing sloppy work. I can say that because I worked cement construction with 2 different companies while I was going to college. This is not quality work for what we're paying. Give you an example. They came over and were going to tear out 3 slabs in front of my neighbor's garage. Never went up to the house, knocked on a door, and told them they were going to do that, and asked them if there were any cars in the garage. I had to stop the guy, go over to the door, knock on the door, and tell my neighbor they're going to tear out your sidewalk. If you have a car in there, you have to get it out now. And she says, tell him to stop. I have 2 cars in there. Why didn't the guy, before he started taking the sidewalks up, go up to the house? Secondly, they did a sloppy job on my house. They put in a slab last year that cracked. So they came back this year, dug it out, and they left cement on my lawn. I had to go out and scrape my lawn and dig that stuff out of the lawn. Last year, when they did the street and the sidewalk, they left stuff in the street. Nobody came out to clean it up. I had to clean it up. These people just are not doing the job. If you have to get on the phone, get into the phone book and start calling people next year to come out and bid, would really appreciate it because they're doing terrible work. Secondly, I think it's time to put some more teeth into the lawn ordinance. I have a lady down the street from me. She come over to me and she says, I want to replace my lawn. So I says, well, you don't want to do it in the summertime because when you do that, the weeds are coming. I said, you want to do it like in the late summer, early fall, when the weeds are going away. So I looked down the street, and the house next to her is a sea of yellow. The whole front was just full of dandelions. So I said to her, do not replace your lawn unless they get rid of all of that. Why can't we put something in the ordinance to force people to get rid of the weeds? I'm not saying you have to edge or you got to put fertilizer down. Get rid of the weeds. Why should all of us who want to take care of their property have to deal with people who don't want to do anything? We should force them to at least spray their lawns 2 to 3 times a year, just to get rid of the weeds. This poor lady, she's fussy. I mean, her house is really nice looking on the outside. Now, she wants a better lawn, and she can't do that because the lady next door, the house is just loaded with weeds. So I think we should look at that lawn ordinance and make some changes in it. You want a better city, you want a better city that looks nice, you got to do something about it. people that moved into my area, a lot of my neighbors take care of their lawns. When these people moved in, they did the same thing. So if we start doing that with the majority of this city, we'll have a nice city for people to come to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir? Please state your name.
Gary Myron, live at 22370 Hayes. Thank you. I have the same issue, neighbor, rental. I have 9 rentals in my block out of 23 houses. They're all pretty good. Their neighbor next door doesn't cut the grass, got the weeds, same thing. I've been to city building department today. Last month, same thing, because they don't cut the grass unless you complain a little bit. They're always welcome in my yard. And I think something has to be done with the city ordinance, or, have, the city cut the grass if they don't want to cut the grass. I've been to the owner's house. She asked if I had a lawnmower. That was, a year and a half ago. I've been going through this for a few years, and enough is enough. So I don't know what we could do to do this. When they cut the grass goes all over the place, and it's so long that it looks like a hayfield. Sewers in front. They have parked their car in front. I don't care. Their tire was on it. I asked them if they can move the car. They do, so I could clean the sewer when I edge and everything else. So I clean their sewer that's in front of their house. But a lot of the grass and that goes down there when it rains. And then they blow, everything gets all over my lawn, and I keep it just as nice. So I agree, maybe we've got to look at something. And I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else, Mr. Creech?
Madam Mayor, Council, Harvey Creech, Eastpointe. To pick up where I left off, I thought our committees were supposed to be the stewards of our community. They're supposed to be looking out after us. They're supposed to be looking after our tax dollars. They're supposed to be looking out after our money. They're supposed to be looking out after this city. When you look down there, I was at a meeting, and at that meeting I asked them the same difference. Would you accept the work that was done at the recreation at your house? Not one of them said yes. They said structurally it's great. Well, why pay for aesthetics when you don't get them? Because we're going on. The DPW building, I went through this with Steve. It's a disgrace. The schools are a total disgrace. I don't even want to go vote anymore. We put $22.5 million for maintenance and the rest of the stuff. That's pretty hard to talk about. Spender Park, I was over there today. They pushed off a D3. Exactly what are they going to do? The poor gentleman, I talked to him, he didn't even know he thought that parking lot was supposed to be done. The police parking lot, the surrounds around the basin's already broke. Are they going to replace those? That's a parking lot we just got done doing. This is what we do. The library, especially, I love this, capital improvement. You people have talked about that all night long. What do we pay for capital improvements? This overhang was supposed to stop the ice from falling down. They knocked off the inside, the ceiling's gone. Who's going to replace it? Who's going to pay for it? Taxpayers again? I just said, the recreation, I'm saying, I can go on and on and on and on. Who's supposed to be looking out after our dollars? Who's supposed to be our stewards? I come in here time after time. I was there today. Tony said, I thought we paid this guy to do all this for us. He didn't do nothing. All he did was grab our money and leave. We're supposed to have a 2-year warranty on this job, like we have on all the rest of our jobs. After 2 years, these people walk off and leave us, and we're stuck to pay the bill. I'm tired of this. We get nothing for our money anymore. As I said, I'm not going to say anybody's stealing it, but we're squandering and throwing it away. It might as well be. When they paid for embezzlement, the person was supposed to be a tutor that didn't do the job. They still got the money. Fraud, it doesn't matter. They still got the money. It doesn't matter what you do. Misappropriation of funds. If we pay them, they don't come back. What good is it? And this is what we do on every one of our jobs anymore. We need somebody who's going to be on the outside looking in. Somebody that doesn't have anything to do with this anymore. They can go in there and see what's wrong, and we can show them. As I said, it's embarrassment. You people ought to really go down there, and let me walk you through this recreation center that's supposed to belong to East Detroit and Roseville, and see the job that really got done on it. Go see the library that really got done on it. Go see Spindler Park that really got done on it. Go open your eyes. These people ask me the same thing. Why are you the only person that can see this? Because I look. That's what we're supposed to do instead of just pay the bills. Our maintenance right now, and the same thing about our schools, we paid $22.5 million. I can take you to Bellevue High School right now. If you look at the front door, I can take my finger and stick my finger right straight through the windowsill in that place. It's been like that for 4 years. They say you don't have the money. Why? Because the money was squandered when they had the money before. On all these jobs, all I want is what we paid for.
You have 30 seconds.
Please, people, come and see what I'm talking about. See this work. When they dropped that D3, that bulldozer out there today, that gentleman, it's not rubber tracks, that was steel tracks, and he drove across that parking lot. I want to know what terms, when they're going to do it, and especially the parking lot at the recreation center that we have to pay to get it tested now that is totally blown apart. That's a 2-year warranty, people? The parking lot is shot, but we have to pay for tests.
Your time is up, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the second hearing of the public is closed. We'll start with mayor and council reports. Let's start with Mr. Kleinfeld.
I just want to say the Memorial Day parade went really well. For anyone who wasn't there, I hope you make it out next year. We threw a lot of candy to the kids, if that's an enticement. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And thank you for coming out and walking and passing out candy to all the kids. Mrs. Cito.
The only thing I would like to do is take a moment to thank everybody that came out on Saturday to help with the Gratiot cleanup. We got a lot of trash picked up, and it was really hot, but we managed to get it all done. And I'd also like to thank the East Side Teen Outreach for putting on a very nice lunch afterwards. It was very appreciated and much needed after all that exercise and work.
Thank you. Mr. Marion.
Got a short list. Number one, for my dog, we got an etiquette class tomorrow and at 6:30, and then again on Saturday at 2 o'clock, both of them at Rare. The attendance at the parade, personally, I got to apologize because I had a bum knee. I'm just glad the city had a truck I could ride in. Otherwise, I would have been a no-show. But I enjoyed it, and like I said, we did throw a lot of candy. Hopefully, we didn't harm anyone in the process, but the kids seemed like they had enjoyed it, and the turnout seemed like it was real good. Couple other things that are happening. Obviously, everybody knows the cruise is coming up, but also the weekend after the cruise, or the first Monday after the Hurricanes have their first football game, 7 o'clock at Memorial Field. Take in some springtime or summer football. I thought it was pretty entertaining catching it last year. There's a few more things that are happening at the dog park. Number one, I was just working with the library today for an unveiling of the little free lending library that we're putting up at the dog park. We're going to plan for having an unveiling of it on June 23rd. That's a tentative date. We'll see if we could firm that up later. We're all kind of excited about what we got going on this. We got a big painting party this weekend at my house to get this project going. Number one, it'll be nice to be able to park in my garage again, but hopefully we'll get all that moved out of the way. The other thing that happened is we had a big slab of cement poured up at the dog park by CMV that did a spectacular job of putting this in for us. Did it in a timely basis, and that's where we're going to put a gazebo in. The dogs don't care when it rains, but the patrons, they kind of frown on it when they're standing there drizzling rain, and it's hiding under some of the trees helps, but the gazebo, I think, is going to be a nice attraction to it. The other thing I want to pass along is I just think in general, the city's looking really nice. There's a lot of work being done by the Parks Department, by DPW, by the Park Maintenance Department, J.J. Mish. It just looks good. I think the grass cutting and the trimming in general, I think the city just looks really good, and I hope they keep up the good work on that. The other thing I just found out about today is we're losing our reporter from CNG, Kevin Bunch.
We lost him.
Well, as of what I heard today, they still called CNG and he isn't gone yet. So I don't know where he's at, but he's hiding low and he ain't here. But Kevin, if you hear us, we're gonna miss you. I think you did a fair job keeping track of what we're doing in the city and doing a nice job of reporting it. And be kind of anxious to see who his replacement's gonna be. So, that's all I
Mr.
got.
DeMonico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll agree with your assessment of Kevin. I think he did write some very nice articles on Eastpointe, and someone's got some big shoes to fill, and hopefully not fall asleep listening to our council meetings. He did a very good job of sitting here listening to all the different issues. Also, like Mr. Kleinfeld said, the Memorial Day Parade was great. The weather was great. Passed out a lot of candy, like you said, and I hope everyone took a minute to remember what Memorial Day is about and thought about everyone that, gave everything for our country. And then second, also, the Gratiot cleanup, as you mentioned, Ms. Lucido, is just a couple weeks before the Gratiot Cruise on June 18th. Gratiot is looking really nice now. We did pick up a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting things, and Gratiot's nice and clean now, ready for the cruise. And on June 20th, right, we still have the joint school board city council meeting.
21st.
Right, 21st? No, 20th, Monday the 20th, and then Tuesday the 21st will be our meeting. So Monday the 20th, 7 p.m., if anyone's interested, the city council and school board be meeting. We'll be talking about joint issue. We have one of our school board members out in the audience. And happy Father's Day here coming up to everyone. And then also, if anyone happens to be in the Port Huron area, my wife Alyssa will be having a solo show at Studio 1219 out there. And the opening reception is this Friday, 6 to 8. So I know it's a little far from Eastpointe, but if you're out there, stop by Studio 1219. And also, thank you to everyone that talked at hearing of the public, Mr. Pat Wolf, Mr. Jakubiak, Mr. Meyer, Mr. Creech. We do for sure listen to everyone and take into consideration everything we can and work to resolve all these issues that are brought up. And as I've said before, we don't know about them if you don't bring, well, some of them we might not know about if you don't bring them up here. So thank you for doing that, and thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I would like to echo, I thought the Memorial Day Parade went really, really well. And I have to give a huge thanks to everybody that was on that committee. They started off with the Knights of Columbus, with two of them who worked extremely hard, getting all the fundraising going. Charlie Jackson joined the group, the Oddfellows joined the group, and we worked starting in January to try and offset any problems with fundraising as well as parade route, and cleanup, and et cetera, et cetera. So it really did come out. The people in the city came out, which I was really excited to see. Lots and lots of young families, which was very nice. I have to echo Mr. Marion, because I thought the city looked absolutely fantastic between DPW putting up the flags and cleaning up the city and everything else. And then the parks just looked absolutely fantastic. I think J.J. Mish working with the parks has really been a great blessing to all of us. Lawn cutting. We do have an ordinance in place, but sometimes it takes a little bit. Someone has to complain about somebody that doesn't cut their lawn, but we do have code violation people that go all around the city every single day. They go in a different section, and they will contact somebody. They put a violation on their door. If the lawn isn't cut within a certain period of time, the city will cut it. Once it's on the list, the city will continue to cut the lawn. There becomes a little bit of a problem with the backyard because you can't really go into backyards unless You have to get special permission to go back there. But the person is charged for the cutting of the lawn as well as an administrative fee. If they don't pay it, it goes on their taxes. So the ordinance is in place. Sometimes it seems to a neighbor that's waiting for the lawn to be cut that it takes forever, but it does get into action. And we frequently have 100, 150 people on the continual list. So it does work quite well. We've had a lot of rain. I don't have to tell you that in the last couple of weeks. Makes grass grow. Grass gets a little top and you get really upset, but those are the things. And so we will follow up on that. Be sure and give your name and your address to Linda over here so she can follow up on that and make sure that it's being followed. I hadn't heard that the Hurricanes were playing, so I'm kind of glad that we got adult football again. That'll be exciting to go over and watch. Kevin Bunch. I contacted him from Colorado to do a story on the cruise. That man's told me in no uncertain terms he was going to be out of town, leaving on his way to Washington on Friday, and I had to meet with him on Wednesday. That was the only time. So 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, I met with him, and he explained that he applied for a job as a journalist working with a special department that is writing reports on the safety and on the Great Lakes. And he and his fiancee were leaving, everything was packed, and he was going to be gone on Saturday. So if they're telling you that Kevin is still around, I think they're not telling you the truth. And that he told me that he did not have a replacement just yet, but they were hoping to get somebody. There was somebody that lived way in Farmington or someone that wanted this area. But that's a long distance to drive back and forth, sit at a council meeting and everything else. But Kevin is, unless something happened with his job, so I said, I hope your job isn't one of those that's going to change if the election changes. So he said, guaranteed that it wasn't going to. But I was trying to get him to consider some of the other people that we've had in the past that have been great reporters, but not so far. I don't have anything else except the cruise is coming, and I think the cruise is going to be a lot of fun. We do have 2 trolleys, so the trolley ride is free. It's going to go back and forth on alternating times, so you can take a trolley ride from one end of Gratiot and 8 Mile all the way up to 10 Mile Road. We have quite a few food vendors, lots of fun going on. We have a lot of people that have registered, and a lot of people are cruisers. And we continue to be the only cruise that has a dedicated lane in all the state of Michigan. MDOT had to grandfather us in. So I think things are going to happen. It's going to be positive. City is looking good. We're ready for a lot of people. So I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for the city attorney evaluation.
So moved.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Marion?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Where am I? Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Scribbling
All
around.
right. We'll go into closed session at 8:30. You can give me 5 minutes.
Oh, I get you. Okay. We adjourn.